Science fiction sleep story, presented by Bedtime Stories. Make yourself comfortable, close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath. And now, let the story begin. The quiet hum of the stellarium was Lyra's lullaby. It was a sound as old as the stars themselves, or so her grandmother Ilara always said, a gentle thrumming that vibrated through the very core of the stillness. The vast living station that had been Lyra's home since she was a baby. Tonight, as every night, Lyra stood before her window wall, her small fingers pressed against the cool, resilient plasteel, watching the universe drift by. Her room wasn't just a room, it was a bubble of warmth and light, nestled within the cavernous embrace of a repurposed asteroid, a fragment of cosmic dust, now teeming with life and purpose. Beyond the plasteel, nebulae bloomed like celestial flowers, their tendrils of gas and dust painted in impossible colors, swirling emeralds, deep violets, and fiery oranges. Distant galaxies were pinprick spirals, and closer, individual stars glittered, some a fierce diamond white, others a mellow gold, and a few, ancient and weary, pulse with a dim, ruby glow. "Time for stellar currents, Lyra love," a soft, synthetic voice murmured from behind her. It was Flicker, her companion bot, a sphere of polished alloy no bigger than her fist, trailing a faint iridescent glow. Flicker had been with her since she was old enough to point at the stars, a patient, ever-present guardian and tutor. Lyra turned, a sigh escaping her lips. "Already. I was just getting lost in the Cygnus Veil." Flicker chimed, a sound like tiny bells. "The Cygnus Veil will still be there after your duties, little stell tender. The stellar currents, however, wait for no one, not even a budding luminaceer." Lyra giggled, the grand titles making her feel both important and a little bit silly. A stell tender was what everyone on the stillness was called, a caretaker of the stars. A luminaceer was a rare and special gift, one her grandmother said Lyra possessed, a unique ability to not just see the starlight, but to feel it, to understand its whispered language. She padded over to her analysis console, a curved desk built into the wall, its surface a mosaic of softly glowing sensors and holographic projections. Her small fingers, still smudged with nutrient paste from her supper, danced over the controls. "All right, Flicker. Pull up tonight's diagnostic." The window wall shimmered, transforming. The raw cosmic view faded slightly, replaced by an intricate overlay of shimmering lines and shifting currents. These were the lumen flows, the invisible rivers of starlight that coursed through the very structure of the stillness. The station wasn't just a static observation post, it was a living filter, a massive, ancient machine designed to capture, process, and even nurture starlight. Monitoring intake valve sector gamma 7, stable. Output conduits, sector alpha 2, optimal. Energy reservoirs, 98.7% capacity, Flicker reported, its voice calm and steady. Lyra nodded, her gaze fixed on a particular holographic stream that pulsed with a gentle, rhythmic beat. This was the heart stream, the main conduit that channeled the lifeblood of the stillness, pure filtered starlight, to every corner of the station. It provided light, warmth, and sustenance. The stillness ran on starlight literally. Its hydroponic gardens flourished under carefully calibrated stellar spectrums. Its atmosphere was cleansed by light-activated filters, and even the very thoughts of its inhabitants were subtly influenced by the pervasive, comforting glow. Her grandmother had often told her stories of the before, a time when people lived on planets, under a single sun, and knew nothing of the boundless, nurturing energy of the cosmos. Lyra found it hard to imagine. For her, home was the cool, dark embrace of space, punctuated by the dazzling fireworks of nebulae and the steady, comforting presence of a million distant suns. "No for the personal check," Lyra murmured, reaching for her star sampler. It was a smooth, palm-sized device, crafted from a strange, silvery alloy that seemed to drink in the ambient light. She held it up, closing her eyes. The star sampler hummed, a barely perceptible vibration against her skin. It wasn't just a sensor, it was a conduit. Lyra concentrated, letting her mind drift, opening herself to the subtle energies that permeated the stillness. She didn't just read the data, she felt it. The lumen flows were like currents in an unseen ocean, each star a different temperature, a different flavor. The icy blue-white of a young hot star felt sharp and exhilarating, like a gulp of cold, pure water. The deep, resonant thrum of a red giant was warm and comforting, like a heavy blanket. She could feel the distant whispers of supernovae, their explosive birth sending ripples of energy that tickled her senses, even light years away. She hummed, a frown creasing her brow. There's a slight tremor in the Vega stream tonight, not enough to register as an anomaly, but it feels agitated. Flicker rotated, its glow intensifying slightly. Vega stream data remains within nominal parameters, Lyra. Perhaps an emotional resonance from the luminosea. Lyra shook her head, her eyes still closed, the star sampler warm in her hand. No, it's not me. It's outside, like a tiny shiver in the fabric of space itself, like someone's humming off-key. She focused harder, trying to pinpoint the source. The Vega stream was a major conduit, bringing light from the brilliant blue-white star Vega, a star that usually felt so clear and steady. Her grandmother had taught her that the stars were living entities, not just balls of gas and fire. They had temperaments, moods, and even voices if you knew how to listen. And Lyra, with her luminosea gift, was learning to listen better than anyone. A scan for microfluctuations in stellar radiation, focusing on the Vega Lyra sector. The station itself was a marvel of ancient engineering, a testament to a forgotten civilization that had mastered the art of interstellar living. Its true purpose was lost to time, but the Steltenders of Lyra's community had adapted it, transforming it into a sanctuary for light and life. Flicker projected a new set of data onto the console. Tiny ripples, almost imperceptible, flickered across the holographic map. Detected. A series of minor transient energy spikes, below threshold for alarm, possible solar flare activity from an uncatalogued dwarf star in proximity to Vega. Lyra opened her eyes, her gaze drawn back to the window wall. The Cygnus veil still beckoned, but her attention was now fixed on the distant, dazzling point that was Vega. It was one of the brightest stars in their night sky, a beacon that had guided generations of Steltenders. No, she whispered, her voice barely audible. It's not a dwarf star, it's Vega itself. It feels tired. Flicker remained silent for a moment, its internal processors whirring. The probability of a star of Vega's classification exhibiting signs of fatigue, without significant preceding gravitational or energetic anomalies, is statistically negligible, Lyra. Statistics don't have feelings, Flicker, Lyra retorted, a hint of frustration in her voice. She knew Flicker was logical, but sometimes logic missed the point. Her grandmother had always said that true Steltenders understood that the universe wasn't just data points. It was a symphony of emotions and energies. Perhaps you were simply tired, little Steltender, Flicker suggested gently. It has been a long cycle. Tomorrow, the Elder Council will be reviewing the long-range stellar projection charts. You can present your findings then. Lyra sighed, rubbing her eyes. She knew Flicker was right about the long cycle. Caring for the stillness was a constant, intricate dance, a delicate balance of observation, maintenance, and subtle energetic manipulation. But the feeling about Vega lingered, a faint, disquieting whisper in her mind. She went through the rest of her nightly routine, checking the environmental controls, ensuring the atmospheric scrubbers were functioning, and making sure the nutrient paste recyclers were operating efficiently. Her room was small but comfortable, filled with the soft glow of lumen lanterns and shelves overflowing with star charts and ancient data slates her grandmother had given her. On one wall hung a tapestry woven with shimmering threads, depicting the constellations as her ancestors might have seen them, before they had left their distant, forgotten homeworld to drift among the stars. Finally, she changed into her sleep tunic, a soft, temperature-regulating fabric that felt like a second skin. She climbed onto her bunk, which was built directly into the wall, giving her an unparalleled view of the cosmos. No curtains, no blinds. Just Lyra and the universe. Flicker settled onto a small charging pad beside her bed, its glow dimming to a faint pulse. Sleep well, Lyra love. May your dreams be filled with stardust. You too, Flicker, Lyra mumbled, pulling her light blanket up to her chin. But sleep didn't come easily. Her mind kept replaying the subtle tremors she had felt from Vega. She closed her eyes, trying to clear her thoughts, but the image of the great blue-white star, usually so vibrant, now seemed to flicker, like a candle caught in a draught. She remembered her grandmother's stories of the ancient stellar-tenders, who could sense the birth of new stars and the slow, inevitable demise of old ones. They were the guardians, the silent watchers, ensuring the cosmic balance. Every star has a song, Lyra. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. And sometimes, they need someone to listen when their song falters. Lyra had always taken comfort in the constancy of the stars. They were always there, always shining, always providing. The idea of one of them feeling tired was unsettling. It was like hearing that a mountain was shrinking, or an ocean was drying up. Impossible, yet her senses told her otherwise. She reached out with her mind again, not with the star sampler this time, but with her raw, untrained luminaseer gift. It was a skill her grandmother had encouraged her to develop, a way to connect directly to the stellar energies without the mediation of technology. It felt like reaching out with an invisible hand, touching the raw fabric of space. And there it was, again. A faint, almost imperceptible tremor. Not a physical tremor, but an energetic one. A sadness. A slow, subtle drain of vitality. It wasn't just Vega, it was a ripple emanating from Vega, spreading outwards, like a stone dropped into a vast, silent pond. Lyra frowned, her brow furrowed in concentration. She tried to follow the ripple, to trace its path. It seemed to be flowing towards the distant, glittering heart of the Cygnus Vale, a vast stellar nursery where new stars were being born. Could it be affecting the nascent stars there? A sudden thought struck her. Her grandmother, Elara, had been a luminaseer of extraordinary power. She had spoken of a rare phenomenon, a stellar sickness, a cosmic malaise that could affect stars, draining their light and warmth. It was a myth, a legend from the deepest reaches of stellar history, something almost never observed. Could it be happening now? To Vega. The idea sent a shiver down her spine, not from cold, but from a burgeoning sense of dread. If a star as mighty as Vega could be affected, what did that mean for the stillness, which relied so heavily on its surrounding stellar neighbors? What did it mean for all the other stars, for the entire galaxy? She remembered her grandmother's words, whispered on her deathbed, her voice as thin as starlight. The balance is delicate, Lyra. The light must be tended, always, for if the stars begin to dim, so too shall we. Lyra squeezed her eyes shut, trying to banish the unsettling thoughts. It was just her imagination, she told herself. A child's overactive mind. Flicker had said the data was nominal. The Elder Council would know. They were wise, ancient stellar-tenders who had guided the stillness for centuries. They would have seen everything. But the feeling persisted. It was like a tiny, persistent itch in her soul, a quiet alarm bell ringing in the vast, silent cathedral of space. She opened her eyes again, looking at the distant, shimmering point of Vega. It was still there, still bright, still beautiful. But to Lyra, it no longer felt quite the same. It felt vulnerable. What if her grandmother's stories weren't just stories? What if the stellar sickness was real? And what if she, Lyra, the young luminaseer, was the only one who could feel its first, faint, stirrings? A sense of responsibility, heavy and profound, settled over her small shoulders. She was just a child. A trainee, stellar-tender. What could she possibly do? But then, another memory. With that thought, Lyra finally felt a hesitant calm wash over her. She wouldn't let Vega fade. She wouldn't let the stellar sickness, if it was indeed real, spread. She would listen. She would learn. And tomorrow, she would speak to the Elder Council, even if they thought her findings were just a child's fancy. She owed it to her grandmother. She owed it to Vega. She owed it to the stillness, her home, cradled by the very stars she now felt duty-bound to protect. As the quiet hum of the stillness lulled her closer to sleep, Lyra made a silent promise to the distant, troubled star. She would be its listener. She would be its advocate. And come morning, she would find a way to help it sing its song again. The universe, vast and indifferent to most, felt deeply personal to Lyra. And somewhere, out there, in the silent, shimmering expanse, a single magnificent star seemed to wait, its faint, sorrowful tremor a secret shared only between itself and a small, determined girl. The universe, vast and indifferent to most, felt deeply personal to Lyra. And somewhere, out there, in the silent, shimmering expanse, a single magnificent star seemed to wait, its faint, sorrowful tremor a secret shared only between itself and a small, determined girl. The first rays of morning, filtered through the chromoglass of her bedroom window, painted Lyra's room in shifting hues of soft violet and pale gold. Her sleep, though deep, had been restless, her mind still humming with the star's silent plea. As her eyes fluttered open, the promise she'd made in the twilight of her dreams felt as real and pressing as the sunlight on her face. Today, she thought, was the day she began her quest. She slipped out of her bed, the soft responsive floor mat adjusting its temperature to her bare feet. Her room, like the rest of their apartment, was a symphony of elegant, unobtrusive technology. A holographic display shimmered into existence near her dresser, suggesting a weather forecast of clear skies and a gentle breeze, perfect for an outdoor flight, and then, more insistently, reminding her of her breakfast schedule. "Good morning, Lyra," a gentle synthesized voice chimed from the ceiling. It was Aura, their home's primary sentient interface. "Your nutrient cycle is ready. Would you like the usual berry fusion or a protein blend today?" "Berry fusion, Aura, please," Lyra replied, her voice still a little thick with sleep, but her mind already racing. As she moved towards the refreshing cascade of her sonic shower, she started formulating her plan. Where did one even begin to find a troubled star? After a quick, invigorating shower that left her skin tingling, Lyra dressed in her soft, comfortable day clothes, a tunic woven bioluminescent fibers and flexible recycled polymers. She found her parents, Ilara and Kale, already in the kitchen nexus, their faces bathed in the soft glow of their personal data slates. Ilara, Lyra's mother, was a renowned xenobotanist, her work often involving the analysis of impossible flora from distant exoplanets. Kale, her father, was an architect of living cities, his designs blending organic growth with advanced structural engineering. Their lives revolved around discovery and creation, a heritage Lyra felt keenly. "Morning, starlight," Kale said, not looking up from his intricate holographic blueprint, but his voice warm. "Sleep well?" "Very well, Papa," Lyra lied, taking her seat at the counter. Her berry fusion materialized before her, a vibrant swirl of colors and scents. "Mama, Papa," she began, carefully spooning a bite, "do you ever feel things from far away? Like really, really far?" Elara finally looked up, her expression a mix of curiosity and gentle amusement. "Lyra, darling, sometimes my work involves analyzing spectral signatures from planets light years away. I can feel the presence of new life, yes, in a way. Why do you ask?" Lyra hesitated. How could she explain the stillness, the sorrowful tremor of a star, without sounding, well, "Last night," she started, her voice quieter, "I was looking at the star charts, and I saw a star. It was different. It felt like it was humming a very sad song." Kale chuckled, finally deactivating his blueprint. "A sad song, huh? Perhaps it was just a red giant in its twilight, ready to shed its outer layers. They can look quite melancholic." "No," Lyra insisted, her brow furrowing. "It wasn't like that. It was quiet, too quiet, and it made me feel like it needed help." Elara's smile softened. "Lyra, the universe is full of wonders and mysteries. Stars are born, they live, they die. It's a natural cycle. But if you're curious, we can always look it up in the stellar archive later." "What was its designation?" Lyra's face fell. "I don't know, I just felt it, through the stillness." She knew how impossible that sounded. The stillness was the subspace medium that allowed instantaneous travel and communication across vast distances, but it wasn't something you saw or felt in a conventional sense. It was the fabric itself. Ilara exchanged a glance with Kale, a familiar parental look that meant, she's got an active imagination. Well, if you can describe its approximate location, we can try to find it. Perhaps it was just a vivid dream. Lyra pushed her breakfast away. It wasn't a dream. It was too real, too resonant. I'll find it myself, she declared, sliding off her seat. She retreated to her room, the weight of her promise heavy on her small shoulders. Her personal datapad, a sleek, transparent device that projected holographic interfaces, was her first weapon. Aura, she commanded, holding the datapad. Access the Universal Star Catalog. Display all known stars visible from our sector. The room transformed. The walls shimmered, becoming a vast, three-dimensional star map, Bottor. Thousands upon thousands of glittering points of light, each a sun, a nebula, a galaxy swirled around her. It was breathtaking but utterly overwhelming. Refine search parameters, Lyra tried again, pacing amidst the cosmic display. Last night, I was looking towards the outer reaches. It felt isolated, and it was a bright star, but with a strange energy. Aura's voice was patient. Lyra, strange energy is not a recognized astronomical parameter. Can you narrow the search by spectral class, luminosity, or approximate coordinates? Lyra sighed in frustration. She didn't know any of that. She closed her eyes, trying to recall the exact feeling, the precise direction. She pointed a finger blindly into the swirling expanse. There, somewhere, there. Aura, ever helpful, highlighted a cone of stars in the general direction. That region contains approximately 1.7 million catalogued stellar objects. Shall I begin filtering for anomalies? Yes, anomalies, Lyra brightened. Something that doesn't quite fit, something that feels sad. Aura's programmed empathy processing unit word. Attempting to cross-reference emotional descriptors with spectral data is outside standard operational parameters. Do that, Lyra urged. Hours passed. Lyra sat cross-legged on her floor, her datapad hovering before her, Aura's calm voice narrating the process. The star map on the walls slowly, painstakingly, filtered down. Millions became hundreds of thousands, then hundreds. Each time Aura presented the data, Lyra's heart would thump with anticipation, only to sink as the star revealed itself to be a known variable, a predictable pulsar, a regular binary system. None of them had the unique, resonant quality of the star in her dream. None of them felt like "Hey star." The sun outside began to dip, painting the room in deep oranges and purples. Lyra's stomach rumbled, but she ignored it. Her frustration grew with each passing minute. How could something so vivid, so real, be so utterly invisible to the cold, hard data? Finally, Aura's voice broke the silence. Lyra, I have identified a stellar object that exhibits highly unusual spectral data. It is currently uncatalogued in the standard public databases and shows an erratic energy signature that fluctuates between extreme luminosity and near total absorption. It is located approximately 12,000 light-years from our current position, in a region designated the Veil of Lyra by early explorers due to its dense nebulous appearance. Lyra gasped. The Veil of Lyra. It was a coincidence too profound to ignore. Her own name, echoing back from the cosmos. She felt a shiver, a familiar resonance. Display it, Aura. Project it full scale. The star map condensed, focusing on a single point in the projected cone. Before Lyra, a shimmering, swirling image coalesced. It was a star, yes, but unlike any she had ever seen in pictures. Its surface seemed to pulse with an inner light that was constantly struggling against an invisible shroud. One moment it blazed with an almost blinding intensity, the next it dimmed to a faint, barely perceptible ember, as if struggling to breathe. And around it, woven into the very fabric of the surrounding space, was a delicate, almost imperceptible tremor, a faint ripple that only Lyra seemed to be able to detect. It wasn't a sad song, not precisely. It was a desperate one. A song of effort, of struggle against an unseen force. And the stillness wasn't just quiet. It was a profound, unnatural silence that seemed to swallow the star's light and sound, allowing only the faintest echo of its struggle to escape. "This is it," Lyra whispered, her voice filled with awe and a fresh wave of determination. "Aura, what do you know about this star? Why is it uncatalogued?" "Its remote location and the dense cosmic dust of the veil make observation challenging," Aura explained. "It was logged as an anomalous energy signature by deep space probes approximately 3 cycles ago, but no further investigation has been initiated due to resource allocation and the star's perceived instability. Its official designation is now Anomalous Stellar Object 701849, ROO. No other information is publicly available." Lyra frowned. "Unstable? What does that mean?" "The energy fluctuations are extreme and unpredictable," Aura stated. "Current theoretical models suggest it may be undergoing a rapid premature stellar collapse, or perhaps experiencing an unknown interaction with a dark matter anomaly." A premature stellar collapse. A star dying before its time. That was the sorrow Lyra had felt, amplified by the vast, silent indifference of the universe. "It's fading," she whispered, her heart aching. "It's trying to sing but no one can hear it." This was more than just a vague feeling now. This was data, confirmation. Her star was in trouble. And if no one else was investigating it, then it was up to her. But she couldn't do it alone. She needed more than just her datapad and Aura's assistance. She needed to go deeper. She needed to understand why. Taking a deep breath, Lyra walked out of her room, her resolve hardened. She found her parents in the living area, Elara reading a datapad, Kale sketching on a holographic canvas. "Mama," Lyra said, her voice firm. "I found it." Elara looked up, surprised by the intensity in Lyra's eyes. "Found what, sweetie?" "The star, the one that's singing a sad song." Aura identified it as Anomalous Stellar Object 701849, ROO. "It's in the Veil of Lyra, and it's unstable. It's fading." Lyra's voice cracked slightly on the last word. "No one's studying it, Mama. They just logged it as unstable and left it to die." Elara's expression shifted, from gentle amusement to professional concern. "Anomalous Stellar Object 701849, ROO. In the Veil? That's unusual. The Veil is notoriously difficult to scan, and the unstable energy signature is indeed concerning." She tapped her datapad, pulling up a quick search. Her eyes widened slightly as she reviewed the initial data. "It seems Aura's assessment is correct. Public data is minimal." Kale, sensing the shift in atmosphere, paused his work. "What's happening, Elara?" "Lyra believes she's found a star that's undergoing some kind of premature collapse. Or perhaps an interaction with an unknown phenomenon," Elara explained, her gaze fixed on the sparse data. "And she feels a strong connection to it." Lyra nodded, her eyes pleading. "It needs help, Mama. I can feel it. It's not supposed to be like this." Elara looked at her daughter, really looked at her. She saw not childish fantasy, but a profound, almost empathic connection. Lyra had always been attuned to the subtle energies of the universe, a sensitivity Elara herself, as a xenobotanist, sometimes experienced with her plant. "All right, Lyra," Elara said, a new seriousness in her tone. "Let's see what we can do. Public databases are one thing, but the Stellar Observatory has much more advanced analysis tools. We can try accessing their deeper archives." Lyra's face lit up. "Really, Mama? You'll help?" "Of course, Starlight," Elara smiled, a genuine warm smile this time. "If there's a star out there in distress, and my daughter can hear its call, then we have a responsibility to listen. Besides," she added, a twinkle in her eye, "it's always exciting to uncover a new mystery." The Stellar Observatory wasn't a physical building in the traditional sense, but a vast distributed network of deep space telescopes, quantum sensors, and data processing nodes, all linked to a central data nexus, accessible from anywhere in the system. Elara connected their home console to the observatory's secure network, inputting her professional credentials. The living area transformed again, but this time, the projection was far more intricate and detailed than Aura's home-based star map. Holographic displays pulsed with complex algorithms and spectral analyses. The air hummed with barely perceptible energy. "This is the Deep Space Resonance Array," Elara explained, gesturing to a swirling vortex of data. "It allows us to pull real-time observational data from the farthest reaches of known space. And this," she tapped a shimmering interface, "is the chronospectral analyzer. It can map a star's entire history, from its birth to its current state, by analyzing the faint echoes of light and energy it has emitted over millennia." Lyra watched in awe as Elara navigated the complex interfaces with practiced ease. Her mother, usually so focused on the microscopic wonders of plant life, moved through the cosmic data streams like a seasoned star navigator. Elara input the designation, Anomalous Stellar Object 701849 Rao.tau. The system whirred, accessing terabytes of raw data, filtering out galactic noise, and focusing on the faint signatures emanating from the Veil of Lyra. Before them, the image of the star solidified. It was even more vivid than Aura's projection. Its surface was a maelstrom of conflicting energies, brilliant bursts of light followed by profound dips into near darkness. It was like watching a heart struggle to beat. "Remarkable," Elara murmured, her scientific curiosity fully engaged. "The energy fluctuations are indeed extreme, and its current position, it's right on the edge of a known dark matter filament. That could explain some of the gravitational anomalies." "What about its history, Mama?" Lyra asked, her gaze fixed on the struggling star. "When was it born? What kind of star is it supposed to be?" Elara activated the chronospectral analyzer. Time seemed to compress as the system processed eons of light data. A timeline unfurled, stretching back billions of years. "According to its spectral signature," Elara began, her voice tinged with surprise, "it's a relatively young star, a main sequence G-type, much like our own Sol. It should have billions of years of stable life ahead of it. But look at this." She pointed to a section of the timeline, roughly 500 million years ago. The star's light curve, which had been steadily increasing, suddenly became erratic. The smooth, predictable progression of a healthy star's life was replaced by sharp, jagged peaks and troughs. The tremor Lyra had sensed was clearly visible in the data, a persistent, low-frequency oscillation across multiple energy bands. "Something happened to it," Lyra whispered, her fingers tracing the holographic image. "Something changed its song." "Indeed," Elara agreed, her brow furrowed in concentration. "For a G-type star, this kind of instability is unprecedented, especially at such an early stage in its life cycle. It suggests an external influence, or an internal anomaly we've never encountered before." She zoomed in on the region of space surrounding the star. "The dark matter filament is significant, but it usually causes gravitational lensing or subtle energy drains, not this kind of violent oscillation." Suddenly a new alert flashed on the console. "Warning, unidentified energy signature detected in proximity to anomalous stellar object 701849 Rho, origin unknown. Energy output consistent with advanced technological emission." Lyra's breath hitched. "Technological emission? You mean, someone else is there?" Elara's eyes widened. "It's highly unusual. The veil is considered uninhabited, too harsh for conventional life support, and the signature is complex, not a natural phenomenon. It's not a probe, it's too powerful, it's a structure." The holographic projection shifted. Overlaying the image of the struggling star, a faint, almost transparent geometric shape began to resolve itself. It was immense, a colossal lattice of unknown material, seemingly woven into the very fabric of space around the star. It wasn't reflecting light, it was absorbing it, siphoning off the star's energy. "It's a construct," Elara breathed, her voice filled with a mix of dread and scientific wonder. "A Dyson swarm or something similar, but designed not to harness energy for a civilization but to drain it, to choke the star." Lyra felt a cold dread spread through her. The stillness, the sorrow, the struggle, it wasn't just a natural process. It was being idoni to the star. Someone or something was actively hurting it. The magnificent G-type star, Lyra's star, was being deliberately silenced. The image of the construct resolved further, revealing intricate conduits and strange pulsating nodes that seemed to feed directly into the star's corona. The star's desperate struggles were clearly visible now, its flares and dimming cycles a futile effort to shake off the parasitic grip of the structure. "Who would do this, Mama?" Lyra asked, her voice barely a whisper, a knot of anger tightening in her chest. "Why would anyone silence a star?" Elara shook her head, her face grim. "I don't know, Lyra. This is beyond anything I've ever seen. This level of stellar engineering, it's ancient or incredibly advanced, and the intent seems to be purely extractive or even malevolent. It's systematically draining the star of its lifeblood." Ugh. The chronospectral analyzer chimed again, displaying new data. The star's projected lifespan, once billions of years, was now shrinking rapidly. At its current rate of energy extraction, it had only a few thousand years left. A blink of an eye in cosmic terms. Lyra's eyes welled up. The star was dying, not of old age, but of a slow, deliberate murder. Her promise, made in the quiet of her room, now felt impossibly vast and urgent. She had promised to help it sing its song again. But how could a small girl, even with the help of her brilliant mother, fight an ancient star-choking construct? Elara put an arm around Lyra, pulling her close. "We need to report this, Lyra, immediately. The Interstellar Council must be informed. This is an act of galactic vandalism, perhaps even a declaration of war, if it belongs to an unknown civilization." But Lyra was already shaking her head. "No, Mama. They'll send probes, they'll send research teams, they'll talk and debate. But the star is dying, Gino. It needs help, Gino." She looked up at her mother, her eyes burning with fierce determination, despite the tears. "We have to do something more. We have to understand this construct, and we have to find a way to make it stop." Elara looked from her determined daughter to the image of the slowly fading star, ensnared by the colossal, silent structure. The problem was immense, terrifying. But the fire in Lyra's eyes, the profound connection she felt, was undeniable. And in that moment, Elara knew that Lyra was right. Reporting it was necessary, but it wouldn't be enough for Lyra. Or for the star. "All right, Lyra," Elara said, her voice steadying. "Let's find out more about this construct. Who built it? What is its purpose? And most importantly, how do we dismantle it?" She began to type furiously, accessing restricted sections of the observatory archives, searching for any historical records, any ancient legends, any whisper of a civilization capable of such an act. The screen glowed with unfamiliar symbols and cryptic warnings, hinting at secrets buried deep within the cosmos. Their journey had just begun. Ara's fingers flew across the holographic console, the projected interface shimmering around her. The observatory's archives were a labyrinth, a multi-dimensional library of humanity's collected knowledge and its deepest, most forbidden secrets. She bypassed security protocols designed to prevent unauthorized access to ancient xeno-archaeological data, theories on pre-stellar civilizations, and speculative physics that bordered on the mystical. The screen pulsed, displaying fragments of data, tantalizingly incomplete. "Anything, Ara?" Kale's voice cut through the hum of the systems. He leaned over her shoulder, his usually cheerful face etched with concern. Kale was the observatory's lead xenolinguist and primary systems engineer, a man whose mind could untangle the most complex algorithms, or interpret the whispers of long-dead alien languages. He was also her best friend, and the only one she trusted implicitly with a mystery of this magnitude. "Just whispers," Ara replied, her eyes scanning lines of glowing text. A recurring motif in several disparate ancient cultures, the World Eater in the Proximan Scrolls, the Skyheart in the old Terran myths, the Great Loom from the Cygnus X1 remnants, always appearing, always fast, always impossible. She highlighted a passage. "Here, a series of pictograms from the Orion Arm Coalition's pre-FTL era. They depict a colossal crystalline structure appearing in a binary star system, then vanishing. The symbols accompanying it are almost identical to the energy signatures we're detecting." Kale zoomed in on the pictograms. Crystalline, eh? Our long-range scans show something metallic, or at least highly reflective, but the energy signature match, that's chilling. These are cultures separated by millennia and light years, Ara. How could they all have seen the same thing? Either a terrifying coincidence, or this construct has been active for a very, very long time, Ara mused. Look closer at the pictograms. See the smaller, faint symbols around the edges. They resemble early forms of the navigator's glyphs, a language used by a hypothesized pan-galactic civilization, thought to be entirely mythical. The architects? Kale breathed, his eyes widening. The architects were a theoretical species, believed to have engineered the very fabric of some star systems, leaving behind impossible structures and energy sources, then vanished without a trace. Their existence was a fringe theory, scoffed at by mainstream science. If the architects are real, and if this is their handiwork, then we're dealing with something beyond our comprehension. These glyphs, when cross-referenced with the navigator's database, which is mostly conjecture, mind you, point to a conduit for what? Kale asked, his fingers already flying over his own console, attempting to run a predictive linguistic analysis on the partial translation. The archives are frustratingly vague, Ara sighed, leaning back. But the few coherent phrases suggest it's a device for interaction with something beyond our dimensional understanding, or perhaps a way to manipulate space-time on a scale we can't imagine. The endless weave is often associated with the very fabric of reality itself. She pulled up a 3D holographic projection of the construct, now shimmering in the center of their observation deck. It was a perfect octahedron, each face a colossal, mirror-like surface, reflecting the distant stars in distorted, fractured light. It wasn't rotating, wasn't moving. It just was. Impossibly still, impossibly vast. We need to get closer, Ara declared, her voice firm. Long-range scans can only tell us so much. We need to be on its surface, analyzing its composition, understanding its architecture. We need to find where those navigators' glyphs lead. Kale hesitated, glancing at the projection. Ara, this thing is planet-sized. Our most advanced deep space exploration vessel, the Stardust Seeker, isn't designed for close-quarters study of a rogue celestial body, let alone an artificial one of this magnitude. It's got a warp drive, but its hull integrity isn't rated for whatever this thing might throw at us. It's our best shot, Kale, Ara insisted. And our only shot. If this thing is truly an architect construct, it could alter our understanding of the universe forever, or it could be a threat we can't even begin to comprehend. Either way, we can't just sit here and watch it. He looked at her, seeing the fire in her eyes, the insatiable curiosity that drove them both. He knew there was no talking her out of it. All right, he conceded, a wry smile playing on his lip. But we're taking the long-range sensor array with us, and I'm jury-rigging a new shield modulator. If this conduit of the endless weave decides to weave into oblivion, I want to know we put up a fight. Preparations for the journey were meticulous, bordering on obsessive. The Stardust Seeker was a sleek, needle-like vessel, designed for speed and long-duration autonomous missions, not close proximity studies of potentially hostile megastructures. Kale and his team worked around the clock, reinforcing the hull with experimental kinetic dampeners, recalibrating the warp core for rapid cycle jumps, and installing an array of multispectral scanners capable of penetrating even the densest exotic matter. Ara, meanwhile, pored over every scrap of data, trying to predict what they might encounter. The glyphs, the fragmented legends, the energy signatures. They painted a picture of something incredibly ancient, incredibly powerful, and utterly indifferent to human existence. Hold on, Kale, Ara said one cycle later, just as they were preparing for final launch sequences. I found something, a cross-reference between the Sky-Heart myths and a series of ancient astronomical charts. They don't just depict the construct appearing and vanishing, they show it moving, not through conventional space, but through what they called the silent paths, routes that connect distant points in space-time, seemingly instantaneously. Like a galactic subway system. Kale whistled. If that's true, then this construct isn't just a device, it's a vehicle, and it could be anywhere, at any time. Exactly, Ara affirmed, a new urgency in her voice. Which means we can't waste time. If it's mobile, it might not stay here. We need to intercept it, study it, before it moves on, perhaps never to be seen again. Within the next few cycles, the Stardust Seeker detached from the observatory's docking port, a silent arrow launched into the void. Their home system, with its familiar sun and nebulae, shrank behind them, becoming just another distant star. The journey was short, thanks to the Seeker's advanced warp drive, but the psychological distance felt immense. They were leaving the known, venturing into the truly unknown. As they approached the construct, the sheer scale of it became overwhelming. From the observatory, it had been a distant geometric anomaly. Now, it filled their viewports, a colossal, multifaceted mirror reflecting the cosmos in a dizzying array of fractured light. Each face of the octahedron was larger than any planet they had ever studied, stretching beyond the curvature of their visual field. It didn't gleam with the artificiality of metal. Rather, it shimmered with an organic, almost liquid luminescence, as if it were carved from solidified starlight. "Sensors are going haywire," Cale reported, his hands steady on the controls, but his voice taut. "Gravitational flux readings are off the charts. It's not just mass, there's something else, a localized space-time distortion around its perimeter, like a..." "Is it hostile?" Ara asked, leaning forward, her face pressed against the viewport. The construct was hypnotizing, terrifyingly beautiful. "No overt energy signatures, no weapon locks," Cale replied, monitoring his console. "But that distortion, it's interfering with our navigation. We're being pulled in, very slowly but inexorably. Can you counteract it?" "I'm trying. The impulse thrusters are at max, but it's like trying to push against a tidal wave. We're drifting closer, Ara, and the closer we get, the more intense the distortion." The Stardust Seeker began to shudder, the reinforced hull groaning under unseen pressures. Outside, the stars seemed to stretch and warp, their familiar pinpricks of light turning into elongated streaks. Ara felt a strange sensation, as if her own perception of space was being stretched and squeezed. "Incoming data stream," Cale exclaimed. It's not a broadcast, it's localized, direct, it's being projected on from the construct." On the main viewport, the fractured reflections suddenly coalesced, forming intricate geometric patterns of light directly on the construct's surface. These patterns weren't random, they were glyphs, moving and shifting, like a cosmic dance. And Ara recognized them. "The navigator's glyphs," she whispered, awe in her voice. "Cale, it's communicating with us." "Or warning us," Cale muttered, as the ship continued its slow, terrifying drift. "My translation matrix is trying to parse it, but it's too fast, too complex. Wait. One phrase is stabilizing." A single phrase glowed on their auxiliary screen, translated from the cascading glyphs. "Approach with intent. The veil thins." "The veil thins," Ara repeated, a chill running down her spine. "What veil?" Just then, one of the colossal faces of the octahedron began to glow brighter, a deep indigo light emanating from its center. The light pulsed, and then, slowly, majestically, a section of the crystalline surface began to recede inward, like a colossal iris opening. It wasn't a conventional door or hatch. It was as if the very fabric of the construct was parting, revealing a swirling vortex of deep violet energy within. "It's opening a portal," Cale breathed, his voice barely audible. "Or inviting us in." "He's inviting us in," Ara corrected, a fierce determination in her eyes. "The conduit of the endless weave. It's not just a vehicle, Cale, it's a gateway." "A gateway to what?" "To find out, we have to go through." Cale looked at her, then at the swirling vortex, then back at his console. The ship was still being pulled, but now, the pull was directed precisely towards the opening. It was as if the construct was guiding them, welcoming them. "Hold on," Cale warned, bracing himself. He disengaged the impulse thrusters, letting the construct's strange gravitational field take full control. The Stardust Seeker accelerated, plunging towards the violet Moor.J. The transition was disorienting. One moment, they were in the cold vacuum of space, stars streaking past. The next, They were enveloped in a soft, ethereal light, the ship no longer shuddering, but gliding smoothly. The viewports showed not stars, but swirling currents of violet and indigo, interspersed with faint, shimmering threads of light, the endless weave perhaps. "We're inside," Ara murmured, her hands pressed against the viewport. "But where is inside?" Kale's sensors were struggling to make sense of their environment. "It's not a conventional space, Ara. My instruments are reading impossible dimensions. It's like we're in a pocket universe or a hyperspatial transit corridor. The walls, they don't register as solid matter. Their energy, pure and concentrated." They glided for what felt like an eternity, though the ship's internal chronometer registered only minutes. Then, the violet currents began to thin, revealing a vast, dark expanse ahead. It wasn't empty space. It was a cavernous chamber, so immense that the distant walls were barely visible. And it was filled with light. Thousands upon thousands of shimmering crystalline structures floated within this chamber. They were smaller than the main construct, ranging in size from small asteroids to small moons, each one glowing with its own internal light, pulsing with soft, rhythmic energy. They were arranged in intricate, impossible patterns, forming constellations within the vastness. "It's a library," Ara whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "Or a repository. These are..." Kale brought the Stardust Seeker to a gentle halt amidst the crystalline forest. "The energy readings are immense. Each one of these crystals is humming with an incredible amount of stored information. And they're connected, Ara. There are faint, almost invisible tendrils of light linking them all, like a neural network." They spent hours navigating the crystalline forest, their ship's external lights illuminating the strange, alien beauty of their surroundings. Some crystals were smooth and perfectly faceted, others jagged and organic-looking, like frozen lightning. Each one resonated with a unique harmonic frequency, a silent symphony of data. "These aren't just storage units," Ara realized, pressing her hand against the cool, transparent surface of the viewport as they passed a particularly large, intricately carved crystal. "They're active, living, almost. They're processing, exchanging information. This isn't just a library, it's a living consciousness or part of one." As they ventured deeper, the crystalline structures began to change. They became more complex, incorporating metallic alloys and what looked like solidified light. Some pulsed with internal gears and mechanisms, others displayed holographic projections of swirling galaxies, collapsing stars, and what appeared to be abstract mathematical equations. Then, they found it. At the very heart of the chamber, surrounded by the densest concentration of data crystals, was a structure unlike any other. It was a colossal sphere, perhaps a kilometer in diameter, made of a material that seemed to absorb all light, yet simultaneously glowed with an internal, deep blue luminescence. It radiated an immense, steady energy signature, far more powerful than anything else in the chamber. "That's it," Ara breathed. "That's the core, the heart of the construct." As they approached the sphere, the surrounding crystals responded. Their lights pulsed faster, their harmonic frequencies shifted, and the faint tendrils of light connecting them flared, forming a dazzling, intricate web that converged on the blue sphere. "My xeno-linguistic algorithms are picking up patterns," Kale reported, his voice hushed. "It's like a chorus, thousands of distinct data streams, all converging, all speaking a common language, and I think I'm getting a translation. A coherent message." He paused, his fingers hovering over the console. "It's ancient, primordial even. It speaks of beginnings and endings, of cycles, of preparation." "Preparation for what?" Ara urged, her heart pounding. "The message is fragmented, but the core theme is consistent," Kale said, his eyes wide. "It's a warning, and a task. It says, the great silence is coming. The weave must be maintained. Only through understanding the echoes can the path be found." Before Ara could process the cryptic message, the blue sphere at the chamber's center began to hum, a deep, resonant vibration that permeated the Stardust Seeker's hull. The blue luminescence intensified, filling the entire chamber with an otherworldly glow. And then, from the surface of the sphere, Intricate patterns of navigators' glyphs began to bloom, swirling and intertwining like a cosmic kaleidoscope. One particular glyph, a central pulsing symbol that resembled a stylized gateway, began to project itself outwards, forming a holographic image in the air before them. It was a star chart, but not one they recognized. It depicted a constellation of stars, some familiar, many utterly unknown, all connected by faint glowing lines, the silent paths Ara had read about. And one of those paths led directly from their current location, through a nebula they didn't recognize, to a star system far, far beyond any human exploration. It's showing us a destination, Ara realized, her voice barely a whisper. A new path, a new journey. The message from the core pulsed again. The echoes await, the path is open. Kale looked at Ara, his face a mixture of awe and trepidation. Ara, this construct, this conduit of the endless weave. It's not just a repository of knowledge, it's a map and a challenge. It wants us to go somewhere. Ara stared at the projected star chart, her mind racing. The great silence. The echoes. The path. This wasn't just about dismantling a mysterious object anymore. It was about an existential threat, an ancient imperative, and a journey into the deepest mysteries of the cosmos. Their journey had just taken an unimaginable turn. The vastness of the universe stretched before them, no longer just a canvas of stars, but a tapestry woven with ancient secrets, beckoning them forward. Ara's breath hitched. The intricate lines of the projection shimmered, a celestial roadmap laid bare, yet shrouded in millennia of cosmic dust. Kale, she whispered, her voice barely a tremor against the hum of the ship systems. Analyze the energy signature again. The one from the object, is it? The ship's AI, a gentle resonant voice that had been her constant companion through countless solitary voyages, responded, affirmative, Ara. The core of the dismantled artifact, when reassembled as per the new schematics etched into its outer shell, functions as a high-frequency resonance generator. It doesn't dismantle. Each points to where? Ara traced a luminous line on the star chart, stretching across unfathomable distances, past nebulae she knew only from distant scans, towards a region of space marked by a strange, almost imperceptible void, a gap in the stellar tapestry. This must be the path. The ancient imperative, scrawled in light on the artifact, echoed in her mind. ETO counter the silence, follow the echoes, walk the path. It was a call to action, an urgent plea from a civilization, long gone. The cold dread of the great silence, the cosmic entropy that seemed to drain life and warmth from the universe, now felt like a palpable threat, not just a scientific anomaly. Prepare for deep space transit, Kale, Ara commanded, a new resolve hardening her voice. Plot a course for the first waypoint on this path. We're going. The journey began not with a bang, but with a silent, determined surge. Ara's ship, the Stardust Seeker, a vessel designed for quiet exploration and careful study, was now a pilgrim on an ancient quest. They left the familiar star lanes behind, diving into the uncharted depths of the void. The first waypoint was a gas giant, not remarkable in itself, but orbiting it was a ring system unlike any Ara had ever seen. It wasn't rock or ice, but a vast, shimmering construct of light and energy. Energy readings are anomalous, Ara, Kale reported, its voice tinged with curiosity. Structured plasma, forming complex, resonant patterns. It appears to be a beacon and a data repository. As the Stardust Seeker approached, the rings pulsed, sending out a low-frequency hum that vibrated through the ship's hull, a song of pure information. Ara felt it in her bones, a whisper across eons. Holographic projections flickered into existence around her cockpit, depicting constellations she didn't recognize, symbols of a forgotten language, and finally a graceful, ethereal being of pure light. The echoes, Ara breathed. They're not just signals, they're the light being, a collective consciousness perhaps, didn't speak in words, but in patterns, emotions, and direct neural input. Ara felt a flood of understanding wash over her. The great silence wasn't an active malevolence, but a creeping cosmic illness, a slow unraveling of the energetic fabric that permitted complex life to flourish. It manifested as dead worlds, silent systems, and a gradual reduction of the universe's inherent vibrancy. The ancient civilization, the creators of the path, had discovered this degradation millennia ago. They hadn't found a way to stop it entirely, but they had engineered a way to restore the balance, to reseed the cosmos with the specific resonant energies it needed. The rings of the gas giant were the first fragment of a vast cosmic library, a database of the universe's true healthy resonance patterns. The echoes were the last vestiges of the creators, their consciousnesses uploaded and distributed across these waypoints, patiently waiting for a species capable of understanding their legacy. They were guides, not gods. The path stretched before them, a series of these incredible silent waypoints. Each one was a challenge, a riddle, a piece of the cosmic puzzle. At one, Ara had to navigate a field of shifting temporal anomalies, learning to perceive time not as a linear progression, but as a mutable dimension, to retrieve a specific frequency signature. At another, she had to resonate with the core of a dying star, absorbing its final magnificent burst of energy into her ship's specialized collectors, a raw primal essence of creation. The journey was arduous, pushing Era and Kale to their absolute limits. There were moments of despair, when the sheer scale of the task seemed insurmountable, when the vast cold emptiness of the great silence felt like a suffocating blanket. But then, a new echo would shimmer into being, a new piece of the ancient puzzle would fall into place, and the wonder would return, igniting her resolve. She wasn't just following instructions, she was learning a new way to see the universe, to feel its subtle currents, to understand its delicate balance. She learned that the great silence was not an enemy to be fought, but an imbalance to be corrected. The universe, like any grand system, required constant renewal, a delicate interplay of creation and dissipation. The ancient civilization had discovered that the natural cycles of cosmic renewal were faltering, perhaps due to a rare celestial event or an unknown cosmic interference. Their solution was not to impose their will, but to assist the universe in its own healing. The path finally led them to the galactic core, a swirling maelstrom of stars and nebulae, a place of immense power and beauty. But even here, Ara could sense the subtle encroachment of the silence, a faint dullness beneath the brilliant spectacle. The final waypoint wasn't a stellar body, but a monumental artificial construct, a sphere of unimaginable size, cloaked in an energy field that absorbed all light, making it a perfect obsidian void against the incandescent heart of the galaxy. "This is it, Kale," Ara whispered, awe and trepidation mingling in her voice. "The core of the path. The source of the ancient imperative." As the Stardust Seeker approached the colossal sphere, the echoes converged, not as individual projections, but as a vast unified field of light that enveloped her ship. She felt their collective presence, a symphony of ancient minds, pouring into her consciousness. They weren't just guides anymore. They were a living repository of the universe's past, its wounds and its potential for healing. The sphere wasn't dark, it was absorbing. It was a cosmic accumulator, designed to gather the precise resonant energies needed to counteract the great silence. The object Ara had first encountered, the one she was meant to dismantle, was a smaller, mobile version of this very device, meant to be activated and recharge this central accumulator, a last-ditch effort if no other species found the path. The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. The ancient civilization hadn't failed. They had simply completed their grand design and entrusted its activation to the next intelligent lifeform capable of following their intricate trail. The object Ara carried was the final key, the trigger. "The resonance generator from the artifact," Kale prompted, sensing her understanding. "It needs to be interfaced with the sphere's central conduit." Ara, guided by the collective consciousness of the echoes, piloted the Stardust Seeker towards a shimmering aperture that opened on the sphere's surface. It was not a violent entry, but a gentle merging. The resonance generator, now fully charged by the journey, pulsed with a pure, vibrant light. As she connected it, a wave of energy, so profound it made her whole being hum, washed over the ship. The colossal sphere, which had been a void, began to glow from within, a soft, warm light that slowly intensified. It wasn't a destructive burst, but a gentle emanation, like a cosmic breath. The light pulsed rhythmically, sending out ripples of pure, restorative energy that spread outwards from the galactic core, pushing back against the encroaching silence. Ara watched, tears streaming down her face, not of sorrow, but of profound wonder and relief. She felt the universe around her sigh, a deep, contented sound. The great silence didn't vanish in an instant, but its relentless advance was halted, and a subtle restorative hum began to permeate the cosmos. New life would flourish, old stars would shine with renewed vigor, and the delicate balance would be restored, slowly, patiently. The echoes, their task complete, didn't disappear. Instead, they transformed. Their collective light softened, spreading into the nascent energy field emanating from the great sphere, becoming one with the healing pulse. They had not been individuals waiting for release, but the very spirit of the path, guiding, teaching, and finally becoming part of the cosmic renewal they had worked so hard to achieve. Ara felt a deep peace settle over her. The universe was vast, full of mysteries, but it was also resilient and interconnected. She had not only saved it, but she had become a part of its ongoing story. The fear was gone, replaced by an abiding sense of purpose and connection. As the Stardust Seeker drifted away from the gently glowing sphere, back towards the familiar, yet now infinitely more vibrant, stars, Ara looked out at the cosmos. It was no longer just a canvas of stars, but a living, breathing entity, full of ancient secrets and endless possibilities. She had walked the path, heard the echoes, and helped to calm the great silence. And in doing so, she had found her own place within the grand eternal dance of the universe. Her journey was far from over, it had just truly begun. She smiled, a quiet, knowing smile, as the Stardust Seeker turned its prow towards home, carrying with it not just a mission accomplished, but a heart full of cosmic wonder. The universe was safe, for now, and Ara knew deeply that she would be there to watch it thrive.